Welcome back, you hear of Goldberg. Today we'll be talking about the decline in architectural aspirations and just quality of craftsmanship in general. This is a significant issue, particularly in the United States, that does not bode well for our future if it's left unaddressed. I'm sure that many of you heard this sad story out of Surfside City. The condo came down, and we've had the recriminations because a lot of folks are worried about lawsuits. So one of the first narratives that came out was, oh, there was this inspection a few years ago and it had all these problems, they were unaddressed. Then the city came back and claimed, well, that's not been verified. So there's going to be some kind of bureaucratic intrigue that we probably won't find or will never know about, to be honest. That being said, there was some maintenance done, like roof, vent fans, air conditionings, roof safety anchors, but these seem to be more aesthetic because the estimated cost of doing everything was in the millions, the actual structural fixes. So more than likely it was one of those cost benefit problems, or oh, we're going to have to uproot too many folks, so let's just hope it'll be okay. What's bizarre though, this building was only 40 years old, and it's not exactly common in the modern age for a building to have so many issues. So you ask, what exactly, where did it come from? When this story emerged, there were of course those who said, oh, the Tesla earthquake machine, or what I thought of when I heard those narratives was Professor Calculus's, I want to say this was a sonic weapon, but it could just basically level an entire city when you hit the button. Now, obviously, you can go into every different detail, well, this theory, that theory. To be honest, I view it just as a reflection of how terrible the quality that goes into building has become. I mean, you can try to claim, well, yeah, but, that's just the way it is in the market. But the problem is, there is a point where safety and, frankly, endurance, having a sense of pride should come before, oh, it's just, it's cheap and it's convenient. And unfortunately, so much of our economy is driven by this low cost, low price, no matter what, that there are going to be significant downfalls. So let's get into it. You ever been inside like a 2005 Ford or Chevy or even like a Dodge? The interior is sucked compared to the Japanese cars, to the Korean cars. And with Chrysler, it was only because Fiat at some point bought them. So finally the interiors got better because, let's face it, Italians aren't going to settle for this garbage. But yeah, everything's cheap plastic. You remember the commercials about the Ford pickup trucks where you could literally break the truck bed with a hammer because it was this really cheap metal? And they moved away from the steel body ones where they said, well, this is actually safer. But a lot of these cars, forget about whether it's made of aluminum or it's made of steel, they're just not good quality. They don't last. They're built to where you're going to have to trade it back in. It's just like with you see the software. They make these programs or these operating systems, and then once they want to sell a new one, they'll put in these security updates to cripple the old software so it's unusable. I've seen this with Windows XP, with Windows 7, and then even the old Windows Live games, if you have the discs, they won't even play on like Windows 10 computers. So everything is designed for them. Make it low cost, but then keep you on that little, baby bottle. Make sure you can't walk away and just, okay, I can use this thing for like 20 years. That's not acceptable. You got to upgrade. You got to pay us more money. So yeah, they're saying it's cheaper, but really they want to rope you in to just spend more for an inferior product. And this is something I did a blog post on, I think back in December, Monuments to Nothing. You see modern houses, how they're constructed. They're ugly as hell. I mean, there's no choice of colors. It's basically beige, cream colored, or kind of gray white. All the vinyl siding. Now, the vinyl siding can be okay. The roofs are not of particularly good quality. And look at this. This is what really gets me. Look at these double doors in the back, right? You've got a little baby gate because, oh, this is the cheaper model. We're not going to even bother building a deck. What happened to you having some, pride in your work? I want to build something that looks good, that lasts. I'm just going to leave it there with a little gate because they're not going to pay enough for the deck. And it's not as though these houses, look how they're set up. They're just kind of all up against each other with these astroturf lawns. There are very few trees to speak of. This is not a community. This is just something they set up so that you can be close enough to a major highway and you can commute into the city for work. That's all that it comes down to, all right? And this is modern architecture. It's bland, it's boring, and it's cheap, and that's all that they care about. There's no sense of a vision. There's no sense of style of, okay, we want this to look a certain way because we want it to be a community. Now, just stay in your house, watch your Netflix, do whatever. As much as possible, don't step outside. That's more or less what they're trying to pull off. And you compare this, you go into like the Midwest or even parts of the South. Look at this. This is considered Victorian style. Look at the character of that house. I love those turrets, like little, cone turrets. There's a purpose to everything. It's not just thrown there. We go back to this image here. You can see random windows. Okay, we got a window right here. We got like 2 windows here. Okay, this model, we decide to put a few more. It's like, what is the logic behind it? It's just, okay, we'll kind of follow this general blueprint. And it doesn't look good. It's not aspirational at all. It's just, yeah, as long as we can have this cheap product, which of course the houses aren't even cheap if you've seen them nowadays, highly inflated. I see this as a significant problem in the United States for, a reason, not just whether something's safe, because another thing we've heard of is these decks that collapse. It's a new house, the deck collapses, so they're not even building when they do the decks. They're not necessarily doing them at a good standard of quality. I looked at a house, not exactly like these. It was a split level, which is what I wanted because it's good for renting. 2005, it was built, right? They wanted almost $250 or something ridiculous. You go in the basement, and this was built on this kind of hilly development. You go in the basement, and it was this vertical crack running up the foundation. I mean, it was astonishing. And they're trying, oh yeah, $250, no problem. And this is because whenever they built it, they didn't do a proper job. They probably didn't level the terrain appropriately. And there's erosion, and so it freaking broke half the foundation. Oh, well, this is still a good deal. Again, you don't have people who know what they're doing. You have people who are told, do this at a low cost, right? It's not exactly the best thing because it can be a safety issue, but probably on a bigger level as far as society and the nation is concerned, you're ignoring significant problems, right? So you see this with people that are attacking China all the time. China this, China that. And those are legitimate criticisms. I'm not going to shill for China. However, the United States needs to be honest with itself. You see how all this debate over infrastructure is not being done in good faith. They're still trying to politicize it. And more than likely, a lot of the money is just going to disappear into the annals of local governments. But you need to make these fixes. An intelligent person in charge would say, let's take these older houses and let's actually provide funds to restore them, give them to veterans, give them to other people who are actually down on their luck. Emphasize community, not just endless developments. Create these nameless suburbs. Now you can drive into the city. You're a little bit closer or a little bit further away, depending on your preferences. It's not a good thing, and it needs to be seriously considered. But when you've got politicians that really want to lap up this nonsense about American exceptionalism, well, you want to be American exceptional, that's fine, but that takes work, and that takes an honesty. We have to do this. We have to actually change our point of view. If you just keep promoting neoliberalism and cheap products and, basically a lack of seriousness when it comes to doing your job, well, yeah, you're going to keep having more of these condo collapses. It doesn't really matter how much you say, well, yeah, but this is good for the free market. Yeah, the free market can get people to compete, but the free market can also get people to emphasize cost over, actual quality to the point where they create a product that's not safe, where they create something that's just not going to last because they can't afford to. So it really is a trade-off, and that's something that I hope more people will start talking about instead of, CRT and, oh my God, this person tweeted something offensive. These issues, the stability of the structure you're in, the ability of your car to last, that matters a hell of a lot more than CRT, frankly.